Huh.
We have. Four, yes, we just need one online.
I'm online.
How's that?
Oh, there we go.
Well, great. Quorum is achieved. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. I'll call the December 3rd, PBC Recal Building Committee meeting to order. And I'll start off with a roll call. Nancy Toomey?
Here.
Nancy Zimlock?
Here.
Greg Stepler?
Here.
Ari Greenberg? Don't hear Ari. Mark Doxer? I'm here. Kirk McCormick, John Coot, and Mike Mazzaro all told me they were not gonna be in attendance, and I'm assuming none of them are online.
Okay.
I can tell you who's online in a minute, look at my screen.
Chris has it up.
I have Joe Huggins.
Oh.
Kevin Carbuzzi.
Is Matt on? Matt's planning to join.
Ari just joined.
Okay. Ari, are you here? Yep. Okay, and Pat Tompkins here. Since
She's with Turner.
Kirk and John aren't here, I'm gonna have Ari vote in Kirk's place tonight for topics on the meeting, since he's the.
I probably just missed roll call, but present, thank you.
That was Ari.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we can get the meeting started. First item on the agenda is public comment. If there's any public comment? There, any online? Seeing none in the room? No public comment? Moving on to item 3, the review and approval of past meeting minutes. Assuming everyone got the meeting minutes and had an opportunity to review them. If not, it'll take a minute to review them. And if someone wants to once you get a chance to review.
Could I make a couple of friendly suggestions?
Sure.
On November 6th. Designer BH plus A, it says 905 CD cost estimate. I think it's 90%.
That is correct. Typo.
And then go down to further on item 6, general project discussion. The second sentence says, bother estimates are currently under the estimate.
Both estimates.
I think that we use extra.
Correct.
One other comment, John Coot is COOT.
Thank you. Thank you for those edits. Apologize for the typos. While we're at it, I'll just tell you, there's no H in my last name.
I missed that one.
I get confused.
That's because I don't correct.
Tompkins, not Thompkins.
Right, 'cause I don't correct. That's why you get confused, so it just floats out there.
Yeah.
It's like an alias.
Listen.
Gotta say it once, right?
Yeah.
I should have told you that.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second,
Any discussion, any comments? Okay, Nancy Toomey,
Yes.
Nancy Zimlock,
Yes.
Greg Stepler,
Yes.
Ari Greenberg,
Yes,
Mark Doxer,
yes.
Pat Tompkins, yes, motion passes. Moving on to the next item, project schedule, I'll turn it over to Peter.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, committee members, good evening. On the screen is the schedule. I did some updating since we last met on the 18th or so. I'm highlighting where we are today and where we're going to be in the next several steps or the next phase. As shown on the screen or highlighted, we're essentially at the point where the design team is wrapping up and incorporating final details, if I could say that, and certainly there's representatives from BH plus A on the call today. They can jump in and offer any additional thoughts on that. But nonetheless, as we look forward, here it is, the 3rd of December. We're looking to begin the bid period the 15th of December, which is a Monday, as shown here on row 39, the contractor's bid period. We have that running currently from December 15th through January 22nd, 2026. We are scheduling an on-site briefing session December 18th at the location on Simon's Way, where the project site will be constructed, the building, I should say. Simon's Way. With that, there will be the bid period will ensue. We are scheduled to have the filed sub-bid contractors' bids received on the 14th of January. 7 days later, the general contractor's bids will be due on the 22nd of 2026 of January. At that point, we're gonna turn around and review the bids for completeness and accuracy, check on any references or any back checking that needs to be done, as shown on row 43. Row 44 is just kind of a line item I put in there for bringing forward the results of the bids to the building committee. And I put in select board just in case that was such a step that needed to be done. I'm not sure. And that's looking to be at the end of the month of January into the first week of February, followed by preparing the documents such as the contract, receiving the representative bonds and insurance certificates, and execute the contract. And then moving down, I'll highlight this item. We're looking to issue the notice to proceed, on the 16th of February is the current thought. That'll be the day one of the construction period. And then we're looking to have the construction period at this point start on February 16th, and then move on for 346 business days into June 30th, 2027. And then you can see the subsequent steps thereafter. That's the current mapping that we've come up with in terms of how we're seeing it will unfold. Scroll down a little bit if you want, and I can pause if there's any particular questions.
So, Chairman, John Ferguson, 16th President's Day. Yeah.
Oh, then I guess we'll do it the next day.
Yeah.
You're right. Thank you very much. Surprised that didn't come up on my calendar, but
Got up on mine 3 times, so I got you.
I guess I have to program the scheduling software with all relevant holidays each and every year. I guess it didn't do that. So thank you for that.
Peter, a couple questions. I know, so documents done out to bid less than 2 weeks from now. It's more of a question for BH+A. Is there any window, however narrow it would have to be from the time the documents are done to the time they're published to look at?
By the committee? Yeah, yes, there could be, and maybe we ask Deanne or Colin on the call. There should be an opportunity. I know I'm looking at some specifications, for example, Division 0 and Division 1.
Yeah.
I know we had the 90% version. Dan's giving me an updated set recently, so I'm gonna be looking at that this week, for example. But I'm sure Dan or Colin, if you want to jump in and offer any thoughts, if there's an opportunity for a progress set between 90% and I'll call it 100.
I'm more talking about the 100% set, like, is there a window there before it goes to print? I mean, we just reviewed the 90% set.
Right.
There's a host of comments that I'm sure they're working through. And they're probably gonna be pretty tight to get from where they are now to December 15th. So I'm just wondering, like, when it's all done, like, I don't wanna look at anything that's an interim between the 90.
Right.
And vetting out all the comments, and I don't wanna commit anyone or even myself that I'm gonna take on a major task. I mean, there are 2 weekends in there, but it's not a lot of days, you know? And I know that any window would be very narrow. I'm just curious if there is a window, like Thursday and Friday of that week before the 15th. Or if they're gonna be like, you know, pulling the stuff together Saturday night to be ready for Monday.
Right. Can happen, yes.
So maybe, I don't know if that's a question for BH+A.
I think that would be helpful if there were a couple days in there, so the documents could be looked at and reviewed. I just think that it doesn't hurt to have a second or a third pair of eyes on it.
Deanne or Colin, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Sorry, so it's probably gonna be tight. we're issuing the set on the 12th to be published on the 15th December. But if the committee would like to see the sort of the set to, I, I think we need to issue them sort of now, at least, and this wouldn't be the 100%. Obviously, we're 10 days away, we're 9 days away from issuing the 100%. A lot can happen in those 9 days. And you're correct. We are picking up the comments from the group here. So I guess that's the short of it. I don't believe there's any flexibility in the current schedule not to push the bid out by the 15th. Correct?
It probably makes sense them on the 12th when they're available, making them available. And I mean, we've gone through the 90% set, given our feedback.
Yeah.
So that should all be incorporated, and there will be addendas through the bid period.
Yeah, so I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so if we review something on the 12th, over that following week, and one of the things that'll happen is when the bids get out on the street, the contractors and filed subcontractors will start asking questions.
Yeah.
So there'll be addendas issued to answer all those questions. So we can incorporate, and we don't want to be making, changes. Yeah, they need to be substantial changes that we want to make.
Agreed.
So we'd have that opportunity. So that's fine. I'm fine with that. I mean,
But I would agree, ideally, it's not best to plan on issuing addendums if you have the opportunity to prevent that,
yeah,
ideally. But it's inevitable at times, there will be an addendums.
right.
Is there any way to just push the date out a couple days?
I don't know if it's gonna be significant enough to delay starting the bid period. I think it's a good idea to start it. If we need to extend it beyond the 22nd January, that would be an opportunity.
No, I was just thinking in terms of looking at documents before they're posted.
Well, I think,
I think I would prefer to stay with the dates that we have. We can look at the documents the same time they're published, and they can still change the documents. And we've looked at the 90% documents in pretty good detail and given a lot of feedback. I don't know how many comments there were, but I think there were quite a few. So we've given a lot of feedback already at multiple steps along the way. I think Dan will tell us that we've outnumbered any other committee's comments on his drawings. It's not exponentially.
No, but I think the idea of the addendum is sort of valid in that. And I do expect that we, at a very minimum, we will be issuing addendums for file submit pricing. So,
Yeah.
And so you do.
Cannot have one.
Right. And my experience has been that you will receive RFIs from bidders. And so many of those we would respond in a addendum to sort of respond to their questions. So, and at that point, if the committee has any sort of comments that is related to the drawings, we can still have an opportunity to incorporate them as an addendum set. Not an addendum set, but issuing as addendum. And also, because the bid is electronic through BidDoc online, it's not as it is uploading documents and putting the documents together. So it's not as complicated as if you were in paper form.
Is there an opportunity? Is there an opportunity? So as you're going through the comments that were made already, is that a master sheet work in process where you can already share with us changes that you've already made? And kind of do that on a rolling basis as opposed to just waiting until they're all in?
Colin?
I've requested from all of our consultants the bid set, the 100% set, to be delivered to myself this Friday. I padded our schedule a little bit so that we have a full week to do a last round of coordinations and make sure we've got everything checked across all of the drawings. So that said, there is those documents will be available to review starting on Friday, and I could share those with some more of the folks here.
I assume you'll still be working on the architecturals.
100%, absolutely. I'm working now right up until the 15th, nonstop.
Okay. So maybe it makes sense to publish on Friday, to publish where you're at with the architecturals. And, the progress at that point in time, and the consultant drawings, which are 100%.
Yeah. Regarding the comments on the 90% set, I have started getting responses back for MEP, landscape, civil, and structure. I'm gonna put all of those together in the Excel document I received, and I'll be able to return that hopefully at the end of the week. Some of the comments, however, because they were not associated with a drawing, it was difficult to understand what the comment was regarding. If a comment just says move 1/3 of the way down, for example, without a drawing, we don't know what that means. So the consultants have done, to the best of their ability, respond to all of those comments. But what I have heard is that they were not able to address all of them for lack of clarity.
Okay, so if you have an update on that spreadsheet, progress set on the architecturals and 100% sets from your consultants this Friday, I think that would make sense to publish that to the committee.
Yeah.
And also, if there was something incomplete that couldn't be responded to because it wasn't clear, to note that on the spreadsheet also.
Absolutely will do. And that's what I've told our consultants to do. So there will be in the AE response section of that spreadsheet, there will be a comment that it was not clear and not understood.
Okay, I think that makes sense. I think that's a good plan. Marilyn, do you have something?
Procedural thing, and it's kind of, doesn't pertain to me since I'm not on your board, but just listening to it. All these addendums, does that have to come back to the PDC to vote yay or nay on these things? No?
No,
We'll
it's,
just decide?
there'd just be, as an example, the best example is the meeting minutes that we just went through. And we saw some typos in there,
Yeah.
and look, the documents aren't perfect. There are humans making them, putting them together. So you might see something like that and there'll be an addenda issued. It'll come to someone's attention. There might be an addenda issued that says, the time period is not 7,530 days. It's actually, 530 days or whatever. So they'll just issue those addendas. Some of them might be more substantial. Some of them might be just minor corrections. So the designer will issue those addendas
Can
through
you
the
give us
period.
an example of the substantial, like what's an example of a substantial addendum?
We're not gonna have any on this, so I don't need to, I mean,
But what's an example?
I don't know, Peter, you can come up with something off the top of your head? I mean, I've seen stuff like, I've seen stuff like a drain line.
Right.
Maybe at the last minute, some subsurface investigation reveals that the drain line you're trying to connect to is in a different location, so the plumbing drawings they have to reroute that underground drain line to the other side of the building, and so that plumbing plan that shows all the underground plumbing, the changes are all clouded, so the contractors, all the bidding contractors can see the changes. And then that needs, something like that could have ramifications to other parts of the building, into the architectural. So something like that might come up. I've seen some pretty aggressive stuff where you can tell someone just changed their mind about something there, like 3 rooms turned into 2. Someone just changed their minds, which, I think we're way ahead of that as a group, so we shouldn't see things like that. But, I wouldn't be surprised to see 3 rooms at the end of a hall, like, you know, in a row, turned into 2 classrooms from 3 offices or something, and then that impacts every trade, right? Every drawing. So, and it drives us crazy as bidders, as contractors.
It's really
That's-
complex.
So, yeah, so who, going back to Maryland's procedural process question, who makes that decision? If it doesn't come back here to the permanent building committee saying, oh, you know, who does that go to? Is it Peter's?
So minor
decision?
items would be made by the design team. And with Harry's input, you know, minor items, if there was something major, we would probably make the decision at the leadership level, Nancy, Toomey and I, and town staff. And then if we were gonna make like a wholesale change, like say, you know, I don't know, we decided to add geothermal wells to this project, something ridiculous like that, you know, something like that would never happen without coming back to the full committee. And we'd be limited with our meetings, obviously. We have 1 meeting scheduled between now and the bid time, and we have a bunch of holidays in there. So, but I'm not anticipating anything in an addenda, famous last words, that would rise to the level of needing a committee vote.
That's correct, Pat. We're not going to be making any changes to the design, but what is expected is to receive, for an example, an RFI from someone trying to put together a price to bid on this project. And if something isn't clear, they're going to submit an RFI. And at a certain point, I will collect those RFIs, the requests for information, and respond to all those on the drawings and make it clear so that all the people bidding on this can submit an accurate price. Those updates are not going to be changes to the design. They're going to clarify what is already on the drawings.
That's usually what the addenda are that we issue, just answers to questions. It's just answers to questions, what people send in, and we issue them sometimes in tranches. So like, here's a set of answers to these questions, here's a set of answers to these questions. And then when they bid, they have to acknowledge that we put out how many addenda we put out, so we know they got everything. So.
Yeah, it's a very formal process to respond and to publish addenda.
And if I could add, just want to,
All right, good.
the process of issuing an addenda to clarify RFIs that the bidders submit protects the project from bidders low bidding and then issuing change orders for things they didn't understand later on. So it's a good thing to be issuing addenda for things that aren't clear on the documents. It's purely, it's my perspective on it was always, it's not supposed to change the intent of anything on the drawing, but clarify the intent and make sure that the documentation is bulletproof so that the bidders understand the way the building should be built and don't try to, and nothing gets changed later. So it's normal in my professional practice, extremely normal to issue clarifying addenda in the bid phase, and we want that to happen. We want there not to be a ton of them, but we want them to happen when they need to happen.
I agree, very well stated.
So I'm just curious, what is this? Is this document really just a collection of those requirements that we went through in the schematics? Or is there a narrative that goes along with it, like the TTH or the architectural?
Are you talking about the full set of contract documents?
Yeah,
There'll be a specification back in the, you know, my world of paper days, there'd be a specification that would probably be about this thick.
yeah.
That gives you the first sections of it, Division 0 and Division 1 are kind of like the contracting requirements, what the contractor is supposed to do in general. And then they start with technical requirements that would specify, if you look around this room, there's some wainscot, wood paneling on that wall. There'd be a Division 6 section that would talk about all the finished wood on the project, that would tell you that that's a species of oak, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have a set of plans that show all the work. And if you just look around this room and you think someone needs to put a price on that paneling in this room, So the plans would describe all the areas, and it might be that the way it's laid out on the documents, when you really try to actually count all the square footage of that, you can't see it all, and that might be a question. And they might have to give an extra elevation that they thought was clear. And the bidders will put their price together on that specific example. Plans will tell them how much of it, the specifications will tell them what the product requirement is in its most basic form. So that's what we call the contract documents. They're drawings and specifications.
So
And
there's,
if you're lucky, you'll never see the physical documents.
so there's really no narrative part of this. It's a collection of drawings and requirements.
Yeah,
And the contractor goes through and bases its bid on those. I'm just
counts
thinking back
every
to
2x4, every ceiling tile, every yard of
Yeah.
dirt, and puts a
Yeah.
price together.
There's usually a description in the opening part of the.
True.
You know.
There's usually
In the IFB and then in the first
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, the very first part, the Division 00 procurement, will have an invitation to bid. They'll have a project description. They'll talk about requirements, and then
That would be interesting.
the summary of work is another one. That's like the first of the 01 sections.
I think those documents.
I can circulate to you the summary of work.
Okay.
I'll take my comments off.
Hold on a
Or
second.
I send it to
How many
you.
pages do you think it'll-
Excuse me,
how many pages do you think it'll be?
the
The whole thing,
specifications?
The whole thing.
It's over 1,000.
Oh, yeah, 1,500 easily,
I wasn't right, I said 17, that's my current, but.
I would say.
Yeah. So I think we're set with that.
I have a question about the timeline, Mr. Chairman, when you have a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looking at, looking in the right place. Yeah, if you're looking at construction phase, it's 46 to 54. The CO is expected June 25th, but the soft opening is for June 1st. I'm just wondering if that's supposed to be July 1st.
You know what? You know what I
Because we
didn't do?
moved some of it.
You know what I didn't do? I'm sorry. I was manipulating the schedule from the previous one, and I did not delete row 53. Let me highlight it. That's my error. This should be gone. I put a line through that. This is the soft opening down at the very bottom.
There we go.
I added rows 55 through 66 to this schedule to break out what I would define as owner, furniture, fixtures, equipment, technology, as far as the design, procurement, installation, and then when the building would be considered available to the public as a soft opening after certificate of occupancy, punch list, and then the setup of owner's furniture, equipment, and technology, so it's operational, so it can be used as it's intended.
Yeah, it's gonna take some time
So-
for us to train up on all
Yeah.
of those systems. Make sure.
This was me just working rather quickly.
No, that's fine. I'm like, I don't know how we do that exactly. So,
So
okay, great news.
I gotta clean up some of the other ones too. I was.
actually did that very recently.
Did you did?
That's another story.
So these, the 56 through 59, whatever. As its material selection, colors, equipment, furnishing, furniture, and equipment, is that what that is? So how is the permanent building committee involved in looking at that data and part of the decision making?
We'll be involved in the FF&E selection.
The entire committee, or is
There'll
it
probably be a
just
work,
the
I
executive?
expect there'll be a working group. I think we covered this a couple months ago.
There was conversation about it, yes.
I think we decided that there'll be a working group. We also talked about time frame on that, right? Like these chairs that we want to buy. We don't want to procure those now because we don't need them for 18 months and whatever we pick won't be available anymore or.
We don't want to store them.
Right, and we wouldn't want to store them, so that we kind of walked through, that would all be like fall to winter of next year.
Exactly.
That'll be coming together, and the PBC will be involved, and we'll probably have a working group. Would be definitely someone, either yourself or someone from Council on Aging will be be involved in
I
that
think
group.
so, yeah.
Definitely,
Staff.
you know, someone on the building committee, it definitely, town staff will have, a lot of involvement.
Back to 44 just for a second. So,
Sure.
what is the standard process? I recommended bid to the building committee. What is the specific process? Do we have a meeting then, we take a vote, and then does the procurement officer go forward? We'll surprise to see the slide board there, quite kind of the standard process.
My expectation would be, obviously, I want guidance from Jane, town council. After the bids are received, Peter and his team will do due diligence. There's certain due diligence that is required to do and some that's recommended to do. They'll come back to us with a recommendation at a PVC meeting, and we will vote. My expectation is that at that point, it would go to Matt. I don't know if it would go to select board. I would think it would go to Matt to execute the contract.
I believe Matt is on the call. So Matt, you can answer, but I do think it's Matt's, he signs all of the contracts anyway, so it would be presented to him to sign.
So that would be, and I think.
Might be
Peter-
getting ready for the next meeting we all have at 7 o'clock. Budget meetings tonight too.
I inserted the word select board because I thought I had heard that earlier about full authorization. Maybe I should not have typed it in there, but I didn't want to not include something that I thought might be a step.
That would involve coordinating another set of meetings. Too.
Yeah.
If we do it, I don't think it's required, so. Just take it off.
Yeah, we have a strong town manager form of government, so the manager is authorized to sign the contract.
Okay, got it. Anything else on schedule?
Can I ask a couple questions on construction phase pieces?
Sure.
Presumably, at some point in line 48, the contractor is going to need to pull a permit. Is that any comments on like how long that the building department needs to issue that? And if so, is there any way to give them an opportunity to accelerate their review by giving them information in advance? That's one question. Forgive me, I'm gonna pile my 3 questions just to make that easy. The other question I have is related to commissioning and sort of owner training. I'm wondering if we could potentially get that broken out in the schedule to, there's presumably someone mentioned training, right? Like this is going to be a different building than other buildings in town, and we want to make sure that there's a handoff, an appropriate handoff of here's this building, here's how you operate it, here's what you need to know to keep this thing humming. So I'd like to make sure that we have that in the schedule so that we know how to run this building we're buying.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. There should be a training period and commissioning period. What was your first question again?
Permit. Like,
Building permit. I think the expectation is that the building department will have the plans ahead of time.
okay, that's good.
During the bid period.
Yeah. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So when I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I think, Peter, Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, the building department and we've kept all the departments in the loop. So by the time we get to awarding the contractor a contract, we should be able to give them stamped plans, and it should almost be a rubber stamp at the building department. I mean, there'll be
Right.
some time to process, but I would expect not like a 30-day period.
You've met our building department. They also are in my department.
Well, that's why we're
I
doing,
love
that's why
our
we're doing,
special
that's why we're
services.
doing peer reviews too.
We are. And where is the ADA peer review? That's a separate question for when we get to it, but wanted to ask that. Yeah.
It's on the
and
agenda for tonight.
We have,
Oops.
is it on the agenda?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Was I supposed to do that? I was.
I think, well, it's out. You were looking
Talk
for
about
the,
that.
So get back to the question on the building department. We agree 100%, Ari.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And sorry, one last question, like, does the committee have the opportunity to like walk the site at certain periods during the construction? I mean, obviously not going to show up and walk around unauthorized, but might be nice to know to, at some point, after the award, have a more detailed schedule of what things are, important things are happening at important times and have the ability for us to put on PPE and see stuff during construction if it's appropriate.
Definitely. It's just a question of, frequency.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would recommend, Peter.
No, absolutely. It's not uncommon for a
Yeah.
building committee to meet at the site and familiarize themselves with the progress of the work.
Yeah.
Now, typically, you don't really do that during construction hours necessarily. You
Mhm.
might do it, set up a time at, say, 3:30, 4 o'clock, when the contractor's work has basically stopped for the day.
Yeah.
We organize a safe tour of the site and the progress, and the contractor can be there to provide any insights along with the design team if necessary and the OPM.
I would think on frequency, like certainly wouldn't be monthly, quarterly would be as frequent as I would expect.
Still pretty frequent.
That's pretty frequent. That would be on the high end. But getting out there a couple times a year.
It'll probably ramp up.
I agree with you. I think that would be great.
When the building's enclosed and there's more finishes happening. And
Yeah.
you can start to see the progress of the walls being developed and the finishes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Is that expected or is that something that's to be?
No, it's just whatever the committee decides.
Yeah. The contractor.
Yeah, contractor will comply.
It needs a lot of coordination, just because there's an active construction site, it's not safe and you wanna limit, how many people, a number of building tours while they're under construction, so.
Yeah, and presumably the design team is walking more often than that during CA and ideally in a way where they can catch stuff that's, you don't want to surprise a contractor, but you also don't want to give them the opportunity to hide something that they didn't want you to see. So there's probably a balance to the design team's CA efforts that I'm not interested in being that police. Obviously, that's not my place, but that I just wanted to clarify. I'm assuming Dan and Colin that is, that you guys will be on site more frequently than the PVC would be.
That is correct. The OPM will have full-time on-site representation. There'll be weekly progress meetings at the job site, at which time the designer will be in attendance at the meeting and will more than likely spend the day. Let's say it's a Wednesday, arbitrarily. Every Wednesday, a design team representative will be at the job site observing the work. And I would say no less than monthly, the design team's sub-consultants will be on the site as well to check the progress and also to validate the work in place as the contractor submits their monthly requisition. So we can confirm that the value of the work being invoiced is accurate and the progress of the work conforms to the design requirements. So yes, weekly, and yes, no less than monthly for the sub-consultants, if not more frequently, depending on the progress. For example, the structural engineer will probably be out more frequently during the foundation and the steel work, because that's relatively critical, and that work gets hidden once it gets in place, typically.
Thank you.
Anything else? Schedules or any other comments on schedule? We can move on to update on the project budget.
Sure, thank you. And I'll make those edits to the schedule, including adding the commissioning and the training as well. Thank you for that input. With respect to the budget, again, you're familiar with the format. There's how many pages here? 5 or 6 pages to the budget. It's all the same. I've added the 3 invoices that are later in the agenda to the budget. And they've been incorporated into the respective cost code categories. For example, progress payment for the OPM as shown, progress payment for the design team, and then a progress payment against the structural peer review by Lim Consultants is also shown right here, here on row 148. All those numbers total up, and I'll go to, not to scroll quickly to the bottom line, but I'll show you the bottom line. And here it is, right here. Highlight that. These numbers just indicate what we just spoke about with respect to today's invoices. So no change in the budget, just an update to the entries.
So no real change.
No.
It's 2 weeks ago. Anyone have any questions or comments on the budget? Okay, moving on to project updates.
Sure, project updates. Item 6 there, so I'll speak on with respect to the design review comments. We did speak about that a few minutes ago. Been working with the design team. We consolidated all the comments, both the 60% and the 90%. There was a little hiccup in the 60, I should say the design development comments, not the 60%. But we worked out that wrinkle, myself and Colin from BH+A. We got them consolidated. Colin mentioned earlier that the design team and the consultants are responding to all those comments. And I do have a sheet if I wanted to, I could share it, but I'm gonna wait for the design team to fill in the responses. Then we can do a back check to make sure the responses are acceptable, kind of on a yes and no basis. So that's what, just wanted to give an update on that with respect to the comments. With regard to the bidding schedule, we did talk a little bit about that. I wasn't sure, but I put down here maybe, and this can be determined at the next meeting, if we want to have a meeting on the 28th of January, as opposed to the, which one was it? The 4th of February. It's a week, but it might be an opportunity to get if everything falls into place accordingly, we could have the meeting here to make a recommendation to accept a contractor's bid a week earlier, if possible. I'm probably, accelerating some certain things in my thinking, but if there's an opportunity, maybe we capture it. Again, that's a to be determined. It's a wait and see approach.
I think it makes sense to just kind of mentally hold that January 28th date in our calendar. If we have the opportunity, if we did the 28th, we would substitute that for the meeting on the 4th.
Right.
We just slide that up a week if it makes sense, if we can do it.
So that was the thought there, just to plant the seed in case
Yep.
it's there.
That makes sense.
Jane, you mentioned ADA peer review. I guess should we talk about that now? Or should we want to wait under new business?
I thought that you had reached out on to find the ADA code review. We went through that already. I just didn't know if that had already gone out.
I have not fully solicited a proposal from an architectural firm independently to do a peer review of the ADA design, which is a consideration to have done.
Yeah.
Our building commissioner has requested,
Okay,
in addition to structural.
right. Okay, so the structural peer review has been completed and the comments have been sent on to the design team. I will activate the ADA solicitation for independent review.
So we want to go ahead with that. We need to be timely with it. The expected expenditure would be somewhat in line with the peer review we did for structural.
Yeah.
I would guess it would be a little bit more. So just kind of, I'm thinking out loud,
Think so?
safer. Safer to say it's gonna be a little bit more.
Let's be conservative with our budgeting. I beg your pardon, sir.
So I think we need to give,
But we have,
Peter and town staff the ability to move ahead with that within some parameters. If that makes sense to everyone, and I don't know if we need a vote for that, or if it's something we just need to discuss and have a consensus that, we want to do the ADA peer review. Unless there's anyone, so open discussion unless anyone disagrees. And we think it'll be in line with the structural peer review, which was 3,000. So say, very conservative, it would be an expenditure less than 10,000. Which is a magic number for procurement, 10,000.
Teddy, we like to keep it at 99.99.
Yeah, right, so, maybe, sorry, jump in, not to exceed 7,500,
That would be fine.
that's probably a comfortable zone, I feel.
Yeah. Yes.
So the reason that it's ADA is not in the budget right now is why?
So everything is designed to code by professionals. Certain components, like the structure, there's a requirement to have another structural engineer do a peer review of the structure. We are opting to do the same thing with ADA. We're gonna put belt and suspenders on ADA like we did with structural. We're required to do it for structural.
Right, but under state law.
Under the building code. We're not required to do this for ADA, but we think because of the use of the building, we think that makes sense. So I'll take a motion and we'll do a vote, just.
Could I ask just one question?
Sure.
Is the ADA person, way back in the beginning when we had the RFQ or I, whatever it was, to bring in BHSA, we made sure there was language in there about also incorporating principles of universal design. And an ADA expert is not necessarily, although hopefully they're open to it, and we're also necessarily up to speed on universal design. Would that be part of this review? Or could it be part of this review?
I don't know that it would be part of this review.
The
And
code
I-
around it.
Universal, what?
The universal design.
There
It's just
are,
another level of, it's above code.
yes,
We're looking at it from a code perspective. Are we also looking at it from universal design? So it just means there are larger requirements or better requirements.
Is that traditionally above the AAB, the 521 code
Yeah.
here?
yes,
It's
yes.
another level
Another
enhanced.
level above, yeah.
Yes, and VH, let's say, put on their team and sponsor a request identifying people on their team who do have this expertise. So I'm just looking to see that, because this would be the window where it would come in. It's not like they're gonna turn the whole world upside down, but it's a lost opportunity to make a better choice if you think that way.
I can solicit the proposal accordingly,
Thank you.
if that makes.
I'd like to hear from Dan a little bit on that topic, and I'm not an expert. I would defer immediately to Nancy
No,
Toomey.
I'm not an expert.
I refer to
I'm
BHSA.
barely an expert on.
There is a firm in
Okay.
Boston that Michelle Plopper, I know, has worked with the town on a number of things. Thinks highly of, but I'm not in a position to recommend
So,
you talk about.
Dan-
She could help you be aware of who would be an expert in this. If not,
Sorry, so is this, are we talking about accessibility peer review?
yes.
And more specifically, we're talking about, was the phrase universal design?
Uh-huh.
I think the question might be if universal design was incorporated in the documents.
We are required to incorporate MAAB, that's Massachusetts Accessible Access Board requirements in all the public buildings, of which this one is. So and we have in the past, at additional expense, gone through peer review of accessibility both for the site and the interior of the building at effectively as a second set of eyes in terms of reviewing the document, reviewing the drawings. We have not done it here at this project, but we've done enough sort of these buildings that we're fairly confident that we obviously will meet MAB for code. But if there is a desire to hire a third party review for accessibility, seeing that we're 2 weeks out, it's probably a little late.
I don't know if it's a little late. We're contemplating going down the path. We're going to go down the path of an ADA peer review for no other reason than our building department, our overtaxed building department
Yeah.
would like that to happen, and we're gonna do it to help them. And I think it probably makes sense, Peter, to include a review of universal design and the principles of universal design and how that impacts, if there's any impacts there. Ari, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, sorry. So there's obviously ADA, there's accessibility requirements, but universal design is not mutually exclusive with those, right? So it's a little, there isn't like a universal design code that we can
Right.
adhere to. And so my concern with this recommendation is that, like, how are we going to, if there's a potential that comments related to universal design would be like scope comments and design comments, not code comments. And so that's where the timing of trying to do a review like this at this point, like that would have been a review that would have made more sense at like design development. So I'm all for obviously ADA review and accessibility code related pieces, but calling it a universal design review might not be what we might not all be understanding or thinking of the same thing when we're calling this asking for a universal design review. It's a very specific discipline. There's a certification it's a credential that a person can achieve to be a universal design consultant. So I just want to clarify that that's a very specific review process and yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, so, Dan, can you, if you either know this grade or if not, can you go back? What was done during the design phase where we believe a consultant was involved related to universal
We
design?
don't know if they were, we're
No.
questioning this.
Yeah,
We
so,
don't.
well,
It
it
was
was,
in the requirements for DHA to be hired, and they put a universal design person on their team in response to that.
okay, so there was some consideration given with a person,
But
We don't know.
right? So in the design phase, right? So that, something was done. Can we find out what that was?
That's our question.
Yeah, we don't know if anything
Yeah,
is
so,
done,
hey,
other
so
than identifying.
this is a question for DH plus A.
Yeah.
Can you either tell us or find out what was done? Because that may clarify what we'd be looking or comparing to.
You mean universal design, not
Yes.
MAB?
Yeah,
Correct, universal.
Okay, I'll find out.
yeah, if that's something you need to look into and get back to us. It's in it's a question, a comment question that was recently received as well, so.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So we need to give Peter some direction on an ADA, MAB peer review. And again, this is not my area of expertise. I'm hearing what Ari is saying, and I'm thinking we may want to keep that limited to ADA, the peer review.
For code.
For
It
code.
says the building parts. That's where that meets.
Right, yeah.
Specifically, it's the
right,
building
We
department.
can tell you that, but I don't think you're saying that we don't look at universal design principles.
Right, any more than I'm
Still-
saying that we don't do proper civil engineering design.
Yeah.
We're just not gonna specifically have a third party sort of check and balance like we are with ADA.
If I may,
Yeah.
universal design is a design concept. And we have a designed building. The structural peer review is about a specific part of the design of that building. And the ADA piece is a specific part of the design of this building, but the universal design is part of the overall design that our architects have incorporated. So when we're looking at the peer review, we paid our architects to design the building with these things in mind. They put it in their responses to us, but the code review is for the technical details to help our commissioner and our inspectors when they go on site. And so it's very specific to that work. And it's not about the universal design aspects as well. And we need to make sure that we're hitting those marks, and that's what we are looking for.
We just need to make sure it was done. We don't know if it was done.
Yeah, well, I
Universal
think-
design.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joel has said many, many times throughout this process over the years that they've worked on this, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
Well,
just
Dan,
need to-
we've asked
We need
Dan-
to see it in writing.
We've asked Dan to get back to us on
Yeah.
that and
Perfect.
we'll await his response. I think, I don't know, Nancy, if you ever made a motion, I think we're ready to go.
Motion for a not to exceed $7,500 fee to hire a code reviewer for ADA requirements based on the Massachusetts bill. Or the MAB, whatever, Massachusetts access.
Okay. Any other discussion? Go to the vote. Nancy Toomey,
Yes.
Nancy Zimblak,
It's
Greg Stepler,
Yes.
Ari Greenberg,
Yes.
Mark Doxer,
Yes.
Pat Tompkins, yes. Motion passes.
Do we need some kind of vote or decision on the universal design? I know Dan is gonna look into it and
No.
get back to us,
I
but.
don't
what
think
is-
I don't think there's a vote. I think we asked the consultant a question and we have to get a response from them.
Okay. In
Um,
worst case scenario, if it wasn't done. Then what happens?
let's see what Dan has for response. I don't know if we contracted them to incorporate all elements of universal design into their documents. I'd have to look at their contract
Yeah, it was.
and what exactly we did. But let's let Dan take that question and come back to us before we get into a deep discussion about something where we don't have the information. So I think we were on the OPM project updates.
Yep, I had those two items and I'm fine with that. I was gonna pass the ball over to design team. Just any progress updates, which I think they've sort of given to us already tonight, but I'll let them speak. And then there was a conversation, and Joel's not here and Jenna's not here. There was some conversation about the equipment during the FF&E. There's some emails back and forth. Joel said, hey, can you put that on the agenda? So,
Okay, so let's turn it over to BH plus
Yep.
A and
so I'll highlight that here. So Dan or Colin, I guess these two are yours if you have any updates.
I'll let Colin sort of give you an overview of the where we are with the with our current drawings. Yeah, so I kind of touched on this earlier. We're moving full steam ahead towards the 15th. Design's in good shape. I will be working, as I said, literally up until the 15th, just to make sure, every possible thing is in there so we get as few RFIs as possible. That's really the goal, is to get a nice tight bid from anyone looking at the drawings. And of course, to avoid any change orders in the future during construction. I don't have any update beyond that. There's no outstanding design questions that require input. Right now, it's just producing the drawings and producing the specs and getting information into both of those documents and coordinating all of that with our consultants. And we have quite a few consultants on this project. In fact, it might be the most I've ever had on any project, which is a good thing. We have a lot of eyes on it.
thank you. Jane, do you have a question?
We had a previous question about, hearing assistive technology in some of the buildings. And we had that conversation, we had it with your consultant, who was
Yep.
absolutely fantastic. And I wondered if you could just speak to that for the building committee members briefly, who were interested in that topic.
Of course, that comment was heard. We were showing it in the multi-purpose room before, but we've since expanded that to include the gym and the 4 activity rooms. That's arts and crafts, the exercise equipment, yoga, fitness and Zumba, and the flex room. So it will be offered in all of those spaces. There's different types of functionality for that. It will be set up so that if you have an enabled hearing device, you can tune it to the frequency in the room and hear whatever is going on. There will also be headsets available if you do not own a device that can be tuned in to the frequency of the assisted listening.
Thank you.
Ask a further question on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So Colin, it sounds like you addressed the issue beyond just the multi-purpose rooms. So wherever there's gonna be sound amplification going on, which could be in most of the rooms. Let's do it this way, where you folks put amplifiers into the drawing. Sometimes I didn't see speakers. I'm just wondering, does that mean they're not wired in? They're just, portable or I'm thinking of any room where there's a TV, any room where there's an amplifier, somehow you need to talk about sound and maybe not to
Yeah.
this level, but I just wanted to make sure that was thought through and it's part of the budget.
It is, and we've had several meetings regarding that. That's a slightly different topic than the assisted listening. There's far more than those 6 spaces that will be set up with screens, speakers, and the ability to video conference, for example, or to put a program on, or to display a schedule, anything like that. Off the top of my head, I think there's probably 12 TVs throughout the project. There's one in each of the lounge spaces. There's one in each of those 4 activity rooms. There's one in the director's office. There is one in veterans. There's a mobile cart that will have a TV, and that's gonna probably live in the makerspace. We have 2 large screens plus the massive projection in the NPR. And we have a screen in the reception area. And we have a screen in billiards. Um, and the card room. So count that up. Now, all of those
It sounds like we're ready for a Super Bowl party.
Yeah. viewing party. All of those will be set up with sound bars, and if there's not a sound bar, it's because the speakers are in the ceiling. We've also provided speakers for the terrace space, so you can have some music out there, or get an announcement if you're outside. That's on the patio and the terrace on the 2nd floor.
Thank you. That was my set of concerns.
Anyone else have any other questions on the designer update?
So what about the FF&E? So you said there was some discussion. What was the discussion?
Exercising.
Yeah, I think there was some discussion about what equipment will be included in the FF&E, I believe. I wasn't
That's
deeply
correct.
engaged. Go ahead, Dan. You probably closer to that than I am.
No, I think Joel received some questions from facilities regarding to cleaning equipment, specifically for track surface, cleaning equipment for gym floor, mops, buckets, and brooms and things, and custodial supplies that typically are not included under FF&E or in specifications. For example, another one was snow blower, and so these were brought up and as part of the sort of FF&E discussion, but that's not going to be included in the building budget.
Everything that you mentioned sounds to me like definitely wouldn't be part of the contract. And So it'll be a question of whether or not it's appropriate to include in the FF&E.
Yeah. And then
Um,
subsequently, I think a conversation was on fitness equipment. And again, I think that because of the fitness room, whether that would fall under FF&E, I think Jenna had provided some example from Sandwich and whether these will be rentals versus ownership purchased. So that's sort of the other part of this equipment review.
Right, I mean, Peter, you want to
No,
weigh in on that?
no, exactly. It's not part of the general contractor's scope of work, no
Yeah.
different than the chairs and the desks are not going to be either.
Right.
It's all part of the package later on that the owner purchases separately.
Right.
And has it moved in and installed, not under the general contractor's contract.
We may have to make some decisions on that FF&E package with some things like this, whether they're included in that or not. It's kind of a town budget thing, a little bit.
I mean, the exercise equipment is specific to the building, so it would be my posture that it would be included in FF&E, just like desks
I
for
agree.
staff,
That would
like
be my
that.
expectation.
If there's specialized equipment for cleaning the
Yep.
track upstairs or like the wood floor in the, whatever the flooring is in the gym, something along those lines. If there's specialized equipment that kind of has to live with the building,
Yep.
facilities is looking for it, would think that would be included in FF&E.
Yep.
Not mops and buckets,
Right,
not necessarily,
again, right, again, directly in line with you, I think a snow blower would not be, I think fitness equipment would be FF&E. And then like a specialized cleaner for the gym floor is a little bit of a maybe, gotta kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's something that might be a. some
We have
topic of
specialized
discussion.
flooring equipment in, the high school for the floors in there, right? We're not gonna put that on a
Yeah.
truck and drive it over to
Right.
Recal every week. We're gonna have specialized flooring machines in the kiln because just the length and the breadth, all in
Yeah.
order for staff to be able to do it, we can't be moving that equipment around town. So that's part of what I'm talking about.
Right,
Could I ask-
Yeah, so
it's-
I would suggest also a lot of this is sort of highly ownership dependent or town dependent. If you already own a certain piece of equipment, they like it. For example, I'll use gym floor. Typically, the equipment by tenant, walk behind floor cleaner that's 20 inches wide and with a scrubber there are several manufacturers that makes it. And this equipment can go up to, $10,000-$12,000 that requires water connections and so on. So we can certainly talk to the town to understand what the preferences are. This equipment is not different than, say, your high school gym.
Right.
And so they may prefer a certain model or a certain brand.
So I'm reading the comment, maybe I'm reading it too literal, review the equipment schedule. So the things that might have long lead times, is that what they're referring to?
Yeah.
I think that's a review of the equipment that we're talking about.
And if there would be lead times or whatever, so to have the
Like-
appropriate lead times in place.
It can also be just the schedule of equipment,
Right.
like the list.
Ah,
yeah.
Not a time schedule.
Not a time schedule.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A list schedule.
Thank you, Gene, I wasn't picking up. I wasn't picking up what he was putting down.
I speak to Austin.
It's a long day. It's been a long day for me. Okay. Did you have any, Dan, did you have, and Colin, did you have any other designer updates?
Nothing here.
Okay, town staff, any updates?
I didn't bring an update. I have more information on builder's risk. It's not on the agenda, but we can bring it up at some point. We got a preliminary number back from our insurer that for the Recal project, because it's mostly frame construction, correct?
Yep.
Then they would budget 55,000 to 65,000 for a year. If it's 18 months, 82 to 92,000 total would be the portion that the town, if the town owns the policy. And so that will have to go into, or we don't have to put it in the bid document if we're carrying it. We just need to add that to project budget.
Is there any more discussion about whether it's in the bid documents or not?
I have, oh, I don't, what do you mean?
The, what was it? It was me and Peter versus you and who else?
I mean, I brought more arguments, is what I'm saying. I got a
You
lot of
got-
red language here. If there's
What was that number again? You said 55,000 to what?
55 to 65 annually, 18 months, 82 to 92.
Annual.
As a project budget, if we own the builder's risk policy, because it's not as composite risk, it's our risk. It's not shared, it is more expensive. The town, the project will pay a higher price than if the builder carried the risk, but I think that, you know, in protecting our assets, I think that, we should be in control of every aspect of a project we fund. And so this is part of what it comes with.
Okay.
So I can give you more reasons as well, but, if you want them, I could put it in the form of a memo.
I'm gonna go find out how much it would cost otherwise.
I beg you to do that. But I also like to save money. Like, I'm not against it. I'm not against it, but,
I'm gonna go find out how much it would cost to the general contractor to carry it roughly.
that's right.
And then we're gonna return to this conversation. And if it's the same number, then you won't hear from me.
I think the builder can bring it in at a lower risk because it's lumped in with the risk of other projects.
Yeah.
And so you get that composite risk. It does go down, but sometimes insurance lapses and we have no control over that. Sometimes the CO is signed off, and once the CO is signed, the builder's risk ends immediately. And we have to make sure that we coordinate that the building is added to our
Property,
schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sometimes doesn't happen, so then you have a $28 million building that's not insured, and that is bad.
Very
So
bad.
you don't like badness, and so that's another piece of it.
Like I said, I
All for
follow town staff's lead on this.
I appreciate you so much.
But I am gonna check your number.
You should, absolutely.
Okay.
Question on that? So am I receiving confirmation that we shall strike any builder's risk in the general contractor's contract? Therefore, the town will be carrying the builder's risk. In other words, we don't want to,
No, definitely don't want it. We
We don't wanna
make that
have it
clear.
twice.
We don't wanna have conflicts in the documents.
Correct. So again, back to striking through any language in the contract for the contractor.
Right.
Builder's risk policy will,
Be carried by the town, and we will name the contractor as additional insured,
perfect.
and we will provide that to them. And I'll also get you the GL requirements, which I have, we're recommending a $5 million umbrella, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, any other updates from town staff?
Not tonight, sir.
Thank you.
We're really appreciative of all the work that the design team has put forward. Just a tremendous amount of work to meet all of these design meetings and all of their consultants. They've provided tremendous access for staff to be able to get into like this crazy granularity
Yeah,
of like where our outlet's going, where's RCTV plugging in, this, that, on a million different things. And they've just been really a pleasure to work with, and it's very exciting. And I want to thank also our OPM through this phase of the project, right? Because now we're starting into bidding and then construction, so we're done with DD. They've gone through some transitions. They've been absolutely a pleasure to work with. Peter Collins is a true professional and really he does a good job as an owner's project manager to protect the town and our ownership. And I'm just so very confident in our team. We are very lucky. And that's been ushered in by this committee. And so, we have the best committee and the smartest committee of all time, not to flatter, although I am, but it's just, other towns, I just don't think Reading brings a lot to the table in terms of this work, so.
thank you. I agree about the designer and Harry's involvement. They've been great to work with from the get-go. And it's getting pretty exciting, getting close to the bid date. Yeah.
It's very exciting.
So,
It's been busy the last couple of weeks.
sure. So,
That's good.
just quickly moving on, contracts, change orders, amendments, purchase orders is nothing, no update. No previous business for follow-up. No new business for general discussion, unless there's anything anyone wants to bring up. project meetings, there's nothing new, and project invoices. So we have 3 invoices to approve tonight. The, I can't remember the name for them, the working group. No, it's not finance.
Financial working group,
Yeah,
that's what I call it.
Financial.
the change order working group. The change order working group weighed in by email. I don't know if anyone saw that other than me. That they reviewed everything in it and everything was in order and they were fine with those invoices. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I had a chance to review those invoices, but
Shoot. Yep, I have a correction. I'm on the wrong agenda for some reason. I have the one that we posted prior to the meeting. Let me put this one up on the screen. So here are the invoice numbers. The Lim Consultants was not 3,000. That was a placeholder a week ago. This came in this Monday. And it's a progress payment of 1,960, excuse me. But the other 2 numbers are accurate. 1 and 2 are accurate.
you want to do these one at a time or you want to go for all 3?
So these project invoices are a result of a change order that was submitted?
No, these are just invoices.
Oh.
It's just progress. They're all just-
Okay.
they're all just progress
I
payments.
was getting like conversations.
Yeah, item 7, we would have covered any amendments.
Okay.
And there were none.
Quick question, so we had 1960 for Lim, it's 4769. I'm looking at their invoice, it's 1950. Sorry, I don't mean to.
No, you're good. Thank you very much. Another typo on my part. My thumb got in the way. It's 1950.
Nice catch.
There you go. Thank you for that correction.
Upgrade my phone.
I tend to type.
You want to go for all of them at once? Nancy, either as shown?
Do you want to add them all? Okay, I'll just send them them all at once. How's that?
That sounds like an excellent
That sound like
idea.
a great idea, get it done. Rolling. Right, let me get to it. All right, motion to approve the following 3 project invoices. The first by BH+A, invoice number 27772 for $206,720. The second for Turner and Townsend Fury, invoice number PJIN 0045631 for $27,041. And invoice number 3 for Lim Consultants, invoice number 4769 for $1,950.
Second.
Any discussion? Go to the vote. Nancy Toomey,
Yes.
Nancy Zimlack, Greg Stepler,
Yes.
Ari Greenberg,
Yes.
Mark Doxer,
Yes.
Pat Tompkins, yes, motion passes. Moving on to other business not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours of the meeting. I don't know if anyone has anything they want to bring up. We've covered the upcoming meeting dates. The next meeting will be January 7. And then we've kind of got 2 out there, end of January, beginning of February, depending on how the bid phase goes. Anyone have any questions or comments on the meeting dates? Shoot, go.
Question, which might fit into 12, 13,
Sure.
whatever. At what point do we consider the optional additional items? That, where does that fit in the cycle? We talked about a couple of potential things that we might add where we find ourselves in a position to do that. What's the time? So certainly after getting bids back.
That will be at that meeting.
Okay,
Right.
So that will be, that's a great point. It's a little more than a rubber stamp of the contractor came in under budget. We double checked, everything's good, they've already been pre-qualified. There is that decision and we need to make that decision at that time. And not to say we couldn't, you're not supposed to, but the contractor is not obligated to uphold that price. If they tell us it's $100,000 for the solar or for the thing or whatever, once we give them a contract, it does not include that alternate. We don't have the right by contract to come back a month later and say, hey, we want to do that. We want to do that road for $56,000. Now we found the money. They, you know, they're not obligated. So it's a one-shot deal. Yep. So that is an excellent point because that might be, there might be some discussion and that we need to be prepared for. But it's nothing we do to prepare for except get the numbers and react accordingly.
Exactly right.
Okay. Item 14, not
Motion
a.
to adjourn.
Second.
Nancy Toomey.
Yes.
Nancy Zimlak. Greg Stepler.
Yes.
Ari Greenberg.
Yes.
Mark Doxer.
Yes.
Pat Hopkins, yes, motion passes. Thank you all.
Thank you.